And what I do is I share teaching tips with math teachers or struggling learners to who need support with classroom management, instructional strategies. And the way that I do that is through just math instruction, instructional strategies, response to intervention, classroom management, project-based learning, and tech integration. So if you've been following me, you know that I have been doing a lot of technology integration due to the remote learning and just the whole uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus and education. So that's what I do. So this is a 30-minute segment. So I go from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. For those of you all who are new here, and if you can't happen to catch me live, you can also always catch me on definitely YouTube because it stays up there the longest. So if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so now. The Ignited Teacher, you can search me and I'll come up because that's my page name. And it's on there every time I live stream. So those videos stay there. And if you miss one, you can hop on there. With my live streams on Twitter and Facebook, once it's a week, that it'll be pushed down into the stream or the thread. So if you miss it, you can definitely catch me on Facebook or YouTube long term. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in tonight's Teaching Tip Tuesday. What I am talking about tonight is we are in this cycle of, it seems like parents are against teachers and teachers are pushing back. And we have this hostile climate that I think is being fueled by several contributing factors, meaning the election, politics, people, you know, look, just not really paying attention to, what we need done in schools. So the school districts have made their decisions, and my school district is not any different. And they made the decision to start up in virtual learning. So I do a Plan With Me Wednesdays. And what I've been doing is sharing my planning process and sharing things that I do, or maybe some free things like Google Docs or templates that will help you transition and make virtual learning work for you, especially with math teachers, because we use manipulatives, we have to do problem solving. So there are elements that we have to be able to do or show and demonstrate in our lessons. And sometimes that can be difficult because in reading, all you use is text and you may use illustrations, but in math, we have those moving parts as well as the text-based portion. So as a part of my classroom routine and structure, before COVID happened, I was a Google Classroom teacher. I have been using Google Classroom for 4 years. I work in a high poverty school, so a lot of people are like, well, how do you do that? Well, during Hurricane Harvey, Donors Choose, I had a Donors Choose project that was funded, and I ended up with a classroom set of Chromebooks. So I had 3 sections of math, and those Chromebooks, each student was assigned one. You're probably saying, well, how did they? I incorporated it with my small group instruction to help the kids with transition and being independent. So it really helped a lot. And one of the things that I started instituting, and it started with my small group instruction, was daily agendas in my Google Classroom. And the daily agenda was a necessary agenda because it actually was an agenda that just listed what the students needed to do during small group, and it was differentiated and all those different things. So once I started, flipping my class and doing different things, especially when I moved to the high school to be a math interventionist, I actually started implementing daily agendas within my virtual platforms or digital platforms, or whatever you want to call them. So that's how I got started with daily agendas. Now, what daily agendas do, and it will help you with all of the questions that your parents have. Because I was a teacher that always had a daily agenda. So let me put it here. Let me scoot out the way. So this is actually what, when I'm in-person learning or face-to-face or at school, whatever you want to call it, I always had an agenda. So as you can see on this agenda, it says warm up, CNN student news, daily review, graphing in all 4 quadrants. And I had new skill. We were using ratios to find K equals Y over X and all of those different things. So I always had an agenda, and it started with, I think I was at a middle school where the agenda started. And it just like my students knew not to even come and ask me, well, what are we doing for the day? They knew that it was on the board. And this can be recreated in Google Classroom, Canvas, or whatever you're doing. A lot of teachers are feeling like, well, my parents have all these questions. One way that you can curtail the questions that you get is by giving more information. Now, I have high school kids. Your daily agenda may not look like this. Some teachers in elementary think that, oh, I have my classroom routines or my daily schedule. Where your daily schedule, it's not going to be enough because you're not there to explain it. So in your agenda, even if it's for the week, the parents need to know what you're planning on doing, so they'll know what to expect, because you have to understand they're juggling this responsibility. Even if the children are at home and a parent has is there full time, they still need to know what to expect. And that's what I did for my students. Now, this is I just took a snippet, but I'm going to show you the 3 different agendas that I have for my class and my objective. And as you can see here, I took a picture because I teach students that struggle. This is what I did. I would screenshot, use for Windows computers, they have the screenshot. And you go into the little rocket at the bottom and it's in that area. So I used to you're not just teaching parents anymore, especially teachers that are online. And we don't know how long we're going to be to combat a lot of pushback. So like, parents are concerned about their students. Yes, they have their own reasons. The one was like, well, everybody has their different situation. But the bottom line is, if you make it, complaints, but there's going to be that 20% that always complains. They always have something to complain about. So you can't please them all, but if you get the majority of them, then, and make it seamless, and the kids know what to do, the parents know what to do, you can get them on board, because they think that virtual learning, especially in our district, we were thrown into that. The district wasn't prepared. The teachers weren't prepared. Nobody was prepared for it. I left and went on spring break and never went back to school. I wasn't prepared for that. So, I think we have a lot more time. We've learned some different things. And this is one of the things that I've used in my classroom. I used it when we switched to virtual learning, and it works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. That's on my Facebook page. All right, so this is one, as you can see the date. I left the dates up there. I didn't even try to make a difference, change it and update it. But this is October 2019. And this is actually one I used for my ninth graders. So as you can see, it's in Google Docs. I've used Google Docs. It is simple and it's just easy to recreate. So I have my I can statement. I have my central question, why are ratios in fraction form, not really fractions. I started with CNN student news because a lot of my students, I noticed that like they have problems understanding problem solving because they have no context. So that's one of the things that we did. And then we did MobiMax, which I love MobiMax. I will be using it again this year for practice with my students. And I had some early finisher work because we were face to face to let them know, because you know kids always say, well, I'm finished, and they don't know what to do. Well, you do know what to do because you're early finisher. It tells you what to do. So it says if you complete domain and range lesson, the domain and range lesson MobiMax before everyone is finished, go to Google Classroom and find math games. Now, some of you know we have some little babies that won't look for it, not trying to find it. So what did I do? Use my snipping tool to show a picture of it. So as they scroll, they can find it. And I told them you can play PEMDAS or integer games. Do not play any other games. So there's their instructions. So that's one of them. This is another one. This is from 2018. So I was telling you I did this a lot. I think this is from one of my fifth grade classes. So I can add fractions, yes, with unequal denominators by using fraction wheels and the LCM. How are prime numbers different from composite numbers? Because that was a prerequisite skill that I was teaching them to curtail some of the steps when they find the common denominator. So if they know that a prime number, 3 is a prime number, you know, it only has 2 factors. So that's one of the things that I did as a strategy to help them. Even with my fifth graders, we watched CNN student news. We were prepping for STAR practice. When was this? This was in October. So I gave them instruction, MobiMax fact fluency, only 15 minutes. And then also we have early finisher work. Notice I have it in chronological order because that's the order in which I expected them to complete it. Some of the kids say, no, I did number 4 already. I'm back. No, I needed 1, 2, 3, 4. I gave them an example. Why? Because my students would say, well, I don't remember how to do that. Well, before you even ask me, and I used to do this during a small group, you don't have to say, well, I don't remember, because you have an example. So that cut down like a lot of confusion because I anticipated some of the difficulty that they were going to have. Then, okay, so that's the last one. I always had the early finisher work. This was a lot because this was a small group daily agenda. And I put the links in there so the kids wouldn't have to go and find them. So STAR practice was paper, redraw, write. That's what they were supposed to use. This was paper-based, and then MobiMax was there too. So early finishers, if you complete reasoning mind module before the class period end, get on Imagine Math until the class period end. until the end of the class period. So that's how that looked. And that was a 5th grade one for face-to-face and small group. It had enough work so that I could get through my small group instruction. So, but that's how that worked. Let's see. All righty. So hopefully that, let me scoot back over. That was helpful. The daily agenda, it is a lifesaver, and I plan on using it again this year because it was something that helped my students, and it helped them to be independent, so they didn't have a lot of questions. And kids are going to have questions, parents are going to have questions, but it's not going to be rapid fire questions like, I don't know what to do, this is this, where do you find this, where do you, like, you have to be overly explicit. And when you do that, it makes the world of difference with your students. So if you have any questions about the daily agenda, definitely just message me on Facebook, leave it in the comment section, tweet to me on Twitter, leave it in the comment section on YouTube. And like I said before, if you cannot catch this live, you can catch it on YouTube at any time. Just Google or go to YouTube and search for the Ignited Teacher, and it'll come up. If you're on my website, I do have a link to my YouTube channel at the bottom, and you can get to it there. So hopefully this was helpful, something that you can use that's practical, that's very easy for you to share with your parents, and to keep things kosher, and we can get through this, without any more scarring that we have already done. And it just helps things run much smoother. So thank you for watching. And like I said, if you have any questions, definitely leave it in the comment section. And I'll see you all in my next live stream.